There are pages in history that were never written, because the world feared what might unfold if they were ever read. Somewhere, buried beneath the burning sands of ancient Egypt, there lingers a whisper, one that never reached the light of day. Not the rustle of wind, nor the echo of time itself, but something deeper. A warning, breathed from the silence of a forgotten god. In 1945, near the ruins of Luxor, a group of archaeologists uncovered a papyrus scroll, sealed not only with red wax, but with black stone. As if someone, or something, had tried to imprison its voice in silence, forever, and then the Vatican came. They did not send a historian. They did not send a priest. They sent a man whose name appears in no official record. He arrived in silence, took the scroll, and vanished into it. Since that day, no one speaks of the scroll. No scholar dares, no record remains, but what if I told you that within those fragile layers of papyrus were the final teachings of Thoth, the god of wisdom, the keeper of secrets, the silent light behind human knowledge? And what if I told you that the Vatican hid it away, not because it was legend, but because it was true? On those torn, time-worn leaves may lie the first language to ever ask, who was the first god? And what knowledge must never be touched by human hands? Tonight, I invite you to step across the threshold, into the shadow they never wanted you to find. Not to judge, but to see. Not to believe, but to understand, and perhaps, when this story comes to an end, you will never look at Egypt, or the Vatican, the same way again. Luxor, 1945. A thick layer of ancient dust blanketed the carved stone, as if time itself had tried to conceal what should never be unearthed. Beneath that silence, deep within an unmarked tomb never recorded in any map or manuscript, lay a black stone sarcophagus, unlabeled, unmarked, offering no clue as to whose remains it once held. But the true enigma wasn't the coffin. It was what rested inside, a scroll of papyrus, unlike any ever found in Upper Egypt. This was no ordinary document. It bore no recognizable hieroglyphs. Instead, it was inscribed with cryptic patterns, spirals, triangles, the eye, and undulating tonal symbols, as if it had been written not to be read with the eyes, but to be felt with the mind. News of the find spread quickly, but not to historians or scholars. It reached the Vatican. Just 3 days later, a man arrived from Rome, unannounced, unlicensed, unaffiliated with any known institution. He simply came, took the scroll, and disappeared. No name. No questions. No trace. Since then, no image, no copy, not even a fragment of text has surfaced in any academic archive. The scroll vanished, as if it had never existed. But if it held no meaning, why would someone travel thousands of miles during wartime to bury it in secrecy? And if it was only a myth, why would the Vatican need to lock it away in the dark? Maybe the truth is that what was written in that scroll was never meant to be studied as history, but remembered as a warning. A final whisper from a civilization swallowed by the sands, echoing a message some believe we were never meant to hear. The ancients called him Thoth, the ibis-headed god, bearer of the crescent moon and the flame-tipped reed, scribe of all cosmic knowledge. He was the one who taught humanity to read, to write, to understand the rhythm of the stars and the language of the soul. To the ancient Egyptians, Thoth was not merely a god of wisdom, he was wisdom itself, the living mind behind creation, the primal language of light, the one who weighed the human heart on the day of final judgment. And according to what is said to be written in the papyrus seized by the Vatican, these were Thoth's final teachings, addressed to the descendants of those who forgot the light. The text, rich in symbols, hinted at a time when knowledge was erased. When humanity was cut off from its divine source, and placed under the rule of a different being, one who called himself God, Yahweh. In the Old Testament, he is the one true God, absolute, omnipotent, wrathful. The giver of laws. The punisher of sins. The one who chose a single people to carry his word. But what if Thoth, too, was a bringer of knowledge? What if these two deities, one born in Egypt, the other in the wilderness of Sinai, were both echoes of the same truth, knowledge delivered from beyond? For decades, Western scholars have debated the curious parallels between Thoth and the Gnostic texts, manuscripts condemned by the early church, hunted and burned for centuries. In the Nag Hammadi scriptures, discovered in 1945, the same year as the mysterious Papyrus, a figure emerges, known as the Great Mind or the Voice of the Light. This being is described as the memory of the cosmos, the keeper of balance, exiled by a jealous god who wanted to rule alone. Some independent researchers believe this is Thoth, recast as a fallen entity to justify the rise of a new order. If that is true, then maybe we never chose what to believe. Maybe belief was handed down, like a memory rewritten over time. Maybe there was a war more ancient than we can imagine, not bet we. No one has seen the papyrus since it left Luxor, sinking into the shadows of the cold stone corridors of the Vatican. There are no copies. No images. No records. The text was not merely hidden, it was erased from existence as if it had never been. Yet a few lines, leaking out like the final breath of memory, still managed to slip beyond. A French scholar, who had worked on translating part of the text before it was taken, noted down a passage by hand, on a small piece of parchment, hidden inside an old book in Lyon. It is believed that the passage reads as follows: "The ones who come after will forget my words. They will take the flame and call it punishment. They will turn hearts away from harmony, and set up laws in place of rhythm. But when darkness devours all that has been learned, my voice will rise from the coldest of walls." The flame was turned into punishment. Knowledge was cloaked in heresy. Balance was replaced with control. It is not hard to understand why the Vatican feared this text. If these words are true, then the belief system built over millennia, the one that erected thrones, churches, wars, and salvation, would tremble at its very roots. Not because it was offended, but because it was questioned. For centuries, the Vatican built a stronghold around belief, as solid as the stone walls of St. Peter's Basilica. But no fortress is thick enough if, from within, someone begins to doubt. Do we have the right to access forbidden knowledge? Are we living in the light of truth? Or in the long shadow of a truth that was buried alive? Transition: the papyrus did not disappear because it was an artifact. It disappeared because it was a dangerous question. And sometimes, a question can shake faith more than a sword ever could. But what if what was hidden is not just words? What if it is the very way the universe operates? If Thoth once held knowledge beyond the boundaries of time, then perhaps what is concealed in that papyrus is not a myth, but technology. Not machinery. Not electricity. But something more subtle: sound. Frequency. Vibration. The very forces the ancients used to raise the pyramids. The very forces the gods used to form shapes from the void. And now, we will follow the melodies that were buried in the stones that know how to sing. The pyramids do not speak. But if you listen long enough, they sing. Beneath every slab of cold granite lies a vibration that has slumbered for thousands of years, a frequency no modern ear can detect, yet one our ancestors once heard with perfect clarity. The ancient Egyptians left no blueprints. No detailed instructions on how they raised 80-ton stones, aligning them with millimetric precision amid drifting desert sands. What they left instead were walls that trembled gently beneath your fingertips. Chambers where a whisper echoes like a prayer stretched through eternity. Spaces where sound bends light, and if the papyrus truly holds the knowledge of Thoth, god of language and resonance, then perhaps. It does not offer religious teaching, but a technical manual. Some modern researchers believe the Egyptians harnessed sound, specific frequencies, to alter the weight of matter, making stone vibrate, levitate, and move without the brute force of men. Why do the internal chambers of the Great Pyramid resonate precisely at 432 Hz, the tone once called the heartbeat of the universe? Why do ancient drums, reed flutes, and sacred chants all hum within that same frequency range? Could it be that the pyramid was never meant to be merely a tune, but rather a resonator? A machine, crafted to tune the mind, matter, and perhaps even time itself, in a forbidden Gnostic fragment, said to echo Thoth's secret teachings. A passage reads, "The builders of Giza needed no hammer, no lever. They sang. And the stone answered." If sound was truly the key, what happens if the Vatican fears that we might one day sing again? If this knowledge were to be restored, we wouldn't just rewrite history. We would awaken something still slumbering in the vibrations that were once silenced. If sound is the breath of the universe, then geometry is its skeleton. Every ancient civilization left behind shapes, not random patterns, but codes. They are not merely geometry. They are the silent language of the cosmos. The Egyptians gave us the triangle, the pyramid, 3 edges, 3 points. Christianity gave us the cross, 2 lines intersecting, for anchors binding heaven and earth. And between these 2 worlds stands the eye of Horus. A symbol of wisdom, intuition, and protection. It guards the threshold between life and death, between knowledge and forgetting. But if you look up at the dome of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, you'll see a strikingly similar emblem, the eye within a triangle, surrounded by divine radiance. And if you trace the pages of ancient secret orders like the Freemasons, you'll find it again and again, pulsing like a sacred heartbeat. Triangle, light, is this a coincidence? Or a hidden current of knowledge, flowing silently through religions, empires, wars, and doctrines, never lost, only veiled? The Egyptians believed the triangle symbolized balance, body, mind, spirit. Or, in the divine triad, Thoth, Ma'at, Ra, knowledge, truth, and light. Meanwhile, Christian doctrine centers on its own Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. One essence, 3 forms, 3 sides, 1 idea. 3 beings, 1 truth. 1 shape. Repeated in every temple, cathedral, and pyramid. Could it be that these sacred symbols are more than faith? That they are ancient coordinates, pointing toward a knowledge that does not belong to time? And if the Vatican holds ancient blueprints, sacred geometries hidden away from the eyes of the world, then perhaps truth does not reside in the sermon, but in the very shape of the temple where we kneel to pray. There is a place in Rome no one is allowed to enter. Not because it's dangerous, but because within its walls lie questions no one dares to answer. Beneath the gleaming golden domes of Vatican City, hidden deep underground, stretches a silent labyrinth, guardian of the oldest, strangest, and most dangerous texts ever written. They call it the Archivum Secretum Apostolicum Vaticanum, the secret archive of the Holy See. Over 80 kilometers long, lined with tens of thousands of documents, manuscripts, parchments, letters, maps, and records no one is allowed to copy. Some haven't been read since the 15th century. Some no one even remembers exist, and according to many theories put forth by independent researchers. It is here, within this forbidden maze, that the Papyrus of Thoth is kept. Not because it is an archaeological relic, but because it may hold the key to truths capable of unraveling the very foundations of what humanity has believed for over 2,000 years. One monk, who once worked inside the archive and later vanished without a trace, left behind a journal. In it, he wrote, "There is a room with no name. Inside, the texts are written in a language no one teaches. They are not read. They are felt. And if you stay too long, you will no longer be yourself. No cameras are allowed. No photographs. And only those deemed to have a divine mission are permitted to touch the manuscripts that have slumbered in shadow for more than a millennium. So the question remains, is the Vatican preserving history? Or controlling it? If they are protecting the truth, why is it locked in the dark? If there is nothing to hide, why is no one allowed inside? The papyrus did not disappear. It is merely resting in a place where silence holds more power than any prayer ever spoken. There are those who dared to face the darkness, who tore through the veil that powerful forces spent centuries weaving. But for them, there is never an easy path. Every truth they reveal comes with the weight of silent punishment, of conspiracies whispered in the shadows, seen only by a chosen few. Remember the Italian priest who dared to unveil an ancient secret that few could believe, a copy of the text of Thoth, containing knowledge so ancient that only the worthy were said to approach it. These pages held not just mysteries of life and death, but revelations about the very workings of the cosmos, laws no human had ever truly grasped. This priest, once cloaked in the silence of quiet monasteries, could not silence the pull of truth. One day, standing before the copy, he felt a power beyond words, as if the letters themselves were alive, breathing, waiting. And in that moment, he could not hold back. His first spoken word echoed like a curse, and like an unstoppable river, he began to reveal the secrets of Thoth to the world, but his words were like stones cast into the still waters of the Vatican, sending ripples no hand could calm. He was exiled without hesitation, not only for making hidden truths public, but for crossing the one boundary that can never be forgiven, lifting the veil from what higher powers deemed untouchable. Elsewhere, across the ocean, lived another witness. An impassioned American archaeologist who dared to publish his findings, a study confirming the existence of lost texts, long-forgotten manuscripts that, according to him, held the key to decoding the dark enigmas of ancient civilization. Like the priests, these documents went beyond earthly knowledge, reaching into cosmic dimensions beyond the veil of time, but that revelation brought with it a bitter end. Threatened. Silenced. Forbidden from ever publishing again, the archaeologist came to understand, some truths can only survive in shadow. A vast and unseen force closed in around him. And though he lost everything, his discoveries were never allowed to see the light of day again. His story faded into obscurity, and the copy of Thoth's text, along with his research, became nothing more than faint echoes in a history no one dared to remember. So then, are these ancient secrets merely fleeting memories, fragments of a past buried beneath the weight of modern power? Is truth something that can only survive in the dark, where those who seek it must pay with their lives? Can such invisible forces truly maintain control forever, or will the day come when those secrets, like an eternal flame, rise once more? The story is not over. The questions remain, suspended in the air like a silent invitation to search. And perhaps, one day, the buried truths will awaken again. The tale of ancient civilizations is not merely a collection of distant epics, it is a trail of sacred symbols, remnants of a mystical belief system we have never fully grasped. When we gaze upon the mythic figures of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and ancient Judea, can we perceive an undercurrent, a hidden stream flowing from a more primal faith, born of a primordial force that shaped all we know about power and truth? Egypt, with its colossal pyramids and immortal gods, built a kingdom seemingly untouchable by time. Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, brought the light of understanding to mankind. In Thoth's eyes lived not only sacred equations, but the ability to pierce through time, to comprehend laws invisible to the mortal gaze. He was more than a teacher, he was the architect of dominion, the keeper of equilibrium between divine forces. In ancient Mesopotamia, there was Enki, the god of water and knowledge, who became the archetype of the giver of wisdom. In epics like the Enuma Elish, Enki is not just a creator, but the one who gifted humanity with the tools to master the world and govern themselves. Through Enki's hand, mankind was not only born, but empowered, entrusted with a force that binds both power and the forbidden knowledge of the cosmos. And then, in the ancient Judaic tradition, there is a mirror, a figure known as Lucifer, the bearer of light. In a world cloaked in the innocence of ignorance, Lucifer brought the fire of understanding. Though his actions led to the fall and endless sorrow, was that fall truly a punishment? Or was it a necessary passage into deeper consciousness, a crossing into a realm where humanity must confront the weight of truth and the burden of power? Are Thoth, Enki, and Lucifer merely cultural echoes of one ancient presence, one harbinger of forbidden knowledge, from whom power was born, and to whom mankind owes the eternal struggle of self-mastery? Why do such distant civilizations weave such similar myths, though separated by millennia and geography? Could it be that they all stem from a deeper, more archaic model of belief, from a shared origin we have never truly understood? These questions do not belong solely to the ancient world, they pulse through the veins of our present time. In today's society, a question grows ever clearer: who controls the truth? It's a question haunting the minds of millions, especially in the modern West, where people do not simply seek answers, but demand the right to shape what they are allowed to know. Can truth be hidden? Or is someone carefully curating what we are permitted to believe, from the gods of ancient myth to the headlines of our age? In Thoth, Enki, and Lucifer, do we see a reflection of an eternal struggle, between those who protect the truth, and those who manipulate it? This is not merely a meditation on the past. It is a warning for the present. And perhaps, when we look back at these myths, we are really searching for a clue, a key that might unlock a deeper understanding of how power always seeks to bend truth, even when it wears the mask of legend. The story does not end here. Could it be that everything we think we know about the past is only the surface, while the true secrets lie hidden beneath, waiting to be revealed? And when that time comes, will we have the courage to face them, even if they shatter everything we once believed? If those ancient texts were nothing more than figments of imagination, why has the Vatican, for centuries, built walls of marble and authority to seal them away? History has seen countless forgeries, myths woven by mortal hands. But only a rare few have ever made empires tremble, have ever led to vault doors sealed with lead and iron, to old priests whispering by candlelight as if their words might awaken something even they cannot comprehend. So if the Book of Thoth, or fragments of similar ancient wisdom, were but illusion, why enforce such rigorous control? The Vatican, for millennia the heart of faith, has also been the guardian of knowledge. Beneath its hallowed halls lies a vast underground library, closed to the public, accessible only to those deemed authorized. There, thousands of manuscripts remain cloaked in dust and silence, untouched by daylight, bound not by chains but by vows. If those pages held nothing of consequence, why guard them as though they carried a flood capable of washing away the very order they seek to preserve? The Vatican's reaction is not simply about protecting belief. It is the reaction of a force that understands the raw power of knowledge, and fears it. They do not declare the texts to be real, yet they refuse to allow others the chance to prove otherwise. And in that hazy borderland, between denial and prohibition, we glimpse the true anomaly. For if something is false, it should be easy to disprove. But if it is real, then the only option is to ensure it remains unknown. Here, logic inverts itself. An institution that claims to venerate light becomes the keeper of shadows. A system that preaches truth works endlessly to suppress alternate truths. And therein lies the deepest paradox: it is not truth itself that frightens, but the question of who is allowed to know it. For knowledge, in the hands of the powerful, is not light, it is a weapon. When you know what others are forbidden to know, you do not merely hold an advantage. You wield the power to decide what the world will believe, and thus, what direction the world will take. So, who holds these secrets? And more importantly, do they guard them to protect humanity? Or to protect themselves? This question does not end at the cold stone walls of the Vatican. It reaches to the roots of every power structure from the ancient past to our modern world. And if we dare to descend further into this labyrinth, the next chapter will reveal something even more disturbing: civilizations erased from memory, not because they failed, but because someone made us forget they ever existed. Beneath the suffocating weight of Egypt's sands, there lies more than the crumbled bones of long-forgotten kings. There slumbers memory itself, memories forbidden to live, sealed away beneath centuries of silence. In each withered papyrus, in every trembling glyph scrawled by the hands of those once entrusted with sacred knowledge, there echoes a faint whisper, as though time itself still waits for someone willing to listen. Together we have journeyed through the fractured echoes of lost epochs, where the name Thoth transcends myth and becomes the very incarnation of knowledge, a divine flame once gifted to humankind, only to be abused, extinguished, and entombed. We have glimpsed the secret harmonics of ancient sound, technologies beyond even our present grasp, that once awakened titanic gates of stone, and carved holy instructions not on walls, but into the soul. And we arrived at the Vatican, not as a house of worship, but as a citadel of curated memory, its corridors cold as burial chambers, its doors yielding only to silence. There, the most dangerous truths were never destroyed, they were hidden, not because they deceived, but because they revealed too much. And now we must ask, how many more books of Thoth remain unseen? How many ancient star charts, celestial machines, sacred geometries, or warnings from vanished worlds lie buried in the earth's smoldering crust and beneath sands that drink the names of forgotten gods? Could there be words that once taught humans how to commune with the cosmos, to travel through resonance, to heal with pure light, to live not as mortals, but as the divine? Could there be truths so deep that a single sentence might unmake the illusion of modern achievement? And if so, who holds the keys that keep us from unlocking them? We have long believed ourselves the first to rise from the dark, but perhaps, we are only the last to remain. Wandering among the broken reflections of a world someone wanted us to forget. And thus, the final question is no longer whether the truth has been buried, but whether the world we live in is built upon truth, or merely the shadow they've permitted us to see. And if you still have the courage to follow this path deeper, if you are willing to press beyond the sands and step into the night that time has forgotten, then know this story does not end here. For just beyond the darkness, the truth may be waiting to awaken once more. And so, the journey that touched the buried layers of forgotten memories begins to close. We have walked through the gateway of time, listened to the whispers of forgotten gods, and felt the breath of mysteries once feared so deeply that they were hidden beneath the eternal sands. From Thoth, the keeper of ancient wisdom's treasure, to forbidden texts, to voices bound by silence, from the cold Vatican to the cracks in humanity's mythology. All intertwined to form an ancient tapestry, where every thread leads to a single point: knowledge is power. And whoever holds the right to tell the story, holds the power to shape the way the world sees itself. But you, my friend, if all memories can be rewritten, if all truths can be censored, then where do we find the foundation upon which to truly understand who we are? Where lies the line between understanding and the illusion crafted by unseen hands? Ask yourself, what we believe. Is it the result of a quest for freedom, or the last remnants of a great purification performed by invisible hands? For the desert still stands. The pyramids still rise. And beneath each ancient stone, there may still be someone waiting to have their story told. If you feel something ancient stirring within your soul, a vague call, yet filled with urgency, do not let it fade into oblivion. Share it, so that light may continue to spread. And remember, This is just the beginning. A long journey lies ahead, for those brave enough to ask, what truly happened? Before history began,